When you play the Game of Thrones,
Subscribe and like.
you die. There is no middle ground.
Welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. Today's video, we are unfortunately going to be talking about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms and it being delayed till 2026. And I think there's a number of explanations you can come up with. We're going to talk about the positive explanation, the neutral explanation, and also the very negative explanation to why A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms got pushed back. So let's just talk about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms right away in terms of its production. So right away with The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, it is a show that is very small scale compared to what we've seen with House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. It's a very self-contained story. There's one plot line. We focus in on two real main characters. That's kind of and the story kind of builds around them, right? We have minor characters here and there, or maybe major characters to more of the history of Westeros, but aren't necessarily major characters in this story, right? And so when you look at this story, right away, it kind of feels weird because the show's 6 episodes. There's not a lot of CGI. It's a very small scale story. Why is it getting pushed back? We know filming's already done, so unless there's a lot of reshoots being done right now, feels really weird that that's the case, that it's being pushed back. The post-production shouldn't take all that long compared to massive shows like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones because there are no dragons. For the most part, this is a medieval show with just the Westeros setting. It's really all it is, right? It's not some great dragon stuff, right? It's not the CGI that House of the Dragon Season 3 is going to need. So right away, I look at this and I go, I don't think A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is getting pushed back because they're behind. That just doesn't seem to be the plausible explanation. So out of everything I'm going to talk about in today's video on the possibilities of why it's not out, it's not going to be out in 2025 and it's actually going to be out in 2026. I'm going to start with this. I don't think it has anything to do with the actual show. George R. R. Martin has straight up come out and told us that he's seen a lot of what they've already done already. Like, it seemed like it was full episodes. So to me, it doesn't really make sense to me that the show is not on schedule. So let's put that out of our mind. What's the next explanation? And something that the Dragon Demands brought up to me and stream about on Thursday, which I think is a great idea and it easily could be the explanation, is that HBO Max is that HBO is having kind of a rebrand. They're bringing back HBO Max, and that is set to debut in the UK in 2026. Here in the United States, I believe it's coming out like in 2025. Like they're going back to that, I think in the summer at some point. But in the UK, it will not be until 2026. So if you're on this logic, you would go, well, that maybe it makes sense then. Okay, so they push back A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms so that it comes out with the rebrand for the UK. And we also know that A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has been said it's going to be coming in the winter. That would imply January, February, or the latest March. So you would expect it's going to be in that first 3 months of the next year. It's not like we're going to have to wait, you would think, until the summer. It should be very early on. So it got pushed back around 3 to 5 months, depending on where you look at it. So that is the more like, okay, it's straightforward business. That's why they did it. But that also, to me, I think it's a very plausible explanation. But I also think about it like this. HBO has shown themselves to not be a good company. They've shown themselves to be run by people that are not the most competent. House of the Dragon Season 2, which has numerous, I think, issues for me, but we're going to specifically talk about one as it's relevant to this video. House of the Dragon Season 2 was supposed to have 10 episodes. It was supposed to have the Battle of the Gullet in it, but it didn't. Why was that? HBO basically cut them down to 8 episodes. They didn't have the funding for the season to do the Battle of the Gullet, and so HBO sabotaged their own show. A lot of why I think majority of the, average viewer, the casual viewer, didn't like Season 2 is a lot of because some of those things that were going to be in Season 2 were not in it. It didn't have a natural conclusion like, say, Season 1 did, for instance. So already, it kind of smells a little funky, right? HBO pushing back A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. There's basically 2 explanations then that relate to House of the Dragon. One is they push back A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms because they're a little bit worried about A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It is not Game of Thrones, like I've talked about. It's not House of the Dragon. It's not a political drama. It's not, this big fantasy show with dragons and all that stuff. It is a self-contained story. And that might be something that doesn't really resonate with fans who look at it and go, this isn't the dragon show, right? And so I think that they might be, I think that they might be worried based on the ending of season 2 of House of the Dragon, how it was received, maybe even the George R. R. Martin backlash from that season, that maybe they're like, we need to push this back. We need to tie this closer to House of the Dragon season 3. We're going to tie, Night of the Seven Kingdoms to House of the Dragon coming out that same year, and hopefully that might be able to get people excited or invested enough to watch a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And I do agree that I think it kind of works the opposite way for the most part. I think that usually you would want, if you have hype of House of the Dragon, you would want to put a Night of the Seven Kingdoms afterwards. I think that's a great idea. I'm coming at it from more that I could see HBO having that rationale that, okay, let's make it, a Game of Thrones year. We have 2 shows that year, so hopefully both shows help the other do better. If A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is really good, great. That looks good for House of the Dragon Season 3. And House of the Dragon Season 3, much more popular show. It's an established show at this point. It coming this year will get more people back into wanting to be excited about the show, right? So that's the way I look at it from that perspective. That's another perspective, is that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms pushed back a lot to do with House of the Dragon, but not necessarily a negative for House of the Dragon. The last one, which is, I think, the most cynical look, I think it's the most negative look. And I don't think it's like, oh, it's out there to have this look. I would say I have a steady belief in everything I've talked about. I could see all of these being a possibility. But again, because of HBO's track record, because of things that I've seen with the company that give me incompetence vibes, I look at this and go, is this more because House of the Dragon Season 3 is behind? We all know House of the Dragon Season 3 is going to have a ton of, battle stuff. It's going to have a ton of CGI that needs to be done. A lot of post-production needs to be done with Season 3, way more than Season 2 and Season 1. I would go as far as saying there will be as much CGI work done for Season 3 as there was combined for Season 1 and Season 2. So it is a very large project. And you are, again, doing it in a 2-year span. Game of Thrones also had this issue, right? And so I look at it and I think maybe they push back a Night of the Seven Kingdoms because House of the Dragon might get delayed till 2027. I don't think that that's a terrible take. I think that makes a lot of sense given how we're kind of boosting up in terms of what the showrunners have to do, the post-production, everything going on with the show. I could easily see that being the case, that they kind of push a Night of the Seven Kingdoms back a bit to kind of give us some material for the Game of Thrones universe in 2026, while then also pushing House of the Dragon 2027 back. And especially if a Night of the Seven Kingdoms is really good, the community will be much more accepting of House of the Dragon being pushed back. Think about how much of an uproar there's already been for a Night of the Seven Kingdoms getting pushed back. People are like, what is going on? We've heard radio silence about the show, and all of a sudden it gets pushed back. What are people going to think? Everybody's going to be thinking all these different things because there's been no transparency with the audience in terms of this show, right? We've seen nothing. No teaser trailers, really. No information about the show. There's been no marketing for the show. That's the thing that's been so jarring to me, and why I'm not necessarily surprised that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms got pushed back. There's been zero marketing. If you ask most average people that watched House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, they have no idea A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was even going to be released this year. I know I asked numerous people that have watched House of the Dragon, whether it's friends, family, not a single one knew A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was coming this year, or was supposed to. There's been no build up to it, which is crazy to me because I know they have a good marketing team. We've seen it with House of the Dragon Season 2. House of the Dragon Season 2 is marketed perfectly. It built up hype so well. Their team just did a fantastic job. So where is A Night of the Seven Kingdoms team? Radio silence. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms being pushed back. I have a steady belief in pretty much all of them. I could easily see all of these being plausible reasons. I didn't really talk about the idea that maybe they pushed it back because of the scheduling of shows and stuff like that. I just feel like it's not one of the biggest talking points. That could always be a factor in it, but I don't think it's one that really needed to be talked about too much. But thank you guys all for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.